Good morning and welcome to episode 411. Before we begin, I'd like to apologize in advance because today is one of those fuel queue recording sessions. So I'm currently on the queue, and for those of you who've been listening to the podcast for any length of time now, you know that this is how we've been living in the capital city of Nigeria, Abuja. I think also people in Lagos and other parts of the country have been living like this for a couple of months now, and so as it is, it's just part of our daily reality. So I'm not going to complain about that. But basically, just to let you guys know that just as with previous field crew recording sessions, I might have to stop, do some James Bond driving to make sure that nobody cuts in ahead of me in front of the queue. And so I might be starting and stopping the recording at different points. So with that out of the way, let's move straight into the meat of today's show. So today I would like to look at a failed networking scenario. Now, if you've been listening to the show for any length of time, you know that previously I've riffed on this whole idea that when you're networking, it should be a question-led process and it should be focused on the other person. Because so many people, when they're in networking sessions or networking opportunities, you run into someone at an event or something, you're wondering, what is it should I say? And the focus shouldn't be on what should you say, but rather what kind of questions should you ask, and the question should be directed at the other person. So you shouldn't talk about what you do in the beginning, but rather you should use lead with questions about them, their interests, their roles, their likes, their motivations, stuff like that. Because these are the kind of topics that will allow you to build empathy with them, first of all, and then later on it's going to give room to explore how their interests, how their career, how their business interests, and whatever, how that aligns with yours. And through that, you're going to be able to push forward business endeavors, personal endeavors, political endeavors, or any other thing that you guys are working on. So the goal shouldn't be to figure out what to say, but the questions to ask. So if this is your first time listening and you'd like some more about this perspective to networking, then when you're done listening to this episode, just head back to the menu, scroll. We have a few hundred episodes so far. Okay, we have 414 episodes. Okay, this is the 414th. So scroll down. Eventually you find something that has networking in the title, and then you can listen to that for more details to this approach. So I'm not going to rehash the philosophy or the principles behind that. So then I've also explored in other podcasts the idea that no one is perfect and that we all make mistakes, including those of us who should know better. So it shouldn't come across to you guys as a surprise that people like me who talk about sales, sometimes about marketing, sometimes about networking, that sometimes you run afoul of the very things that we preach. So it shouldn't surprise you guys, because after all, we're only human. And in fact, I've heard Grant Cardone say it himself. He's a sales trainer based in America. He has said that he's not perfect, and so he doesn't deny when he's running a debrief or looking at a scenario, and there are times when he effed up a conversation. So it's something he'll be open about, and so I'm being open about that as well. Now, there are times when I'm going to fall short, and that is part of what we're going to be looking at today. So this is supposed to be, number one, an inspiration to those of you who think that there's stuff that stuff that you should be doing, but you don't do. So this is inspiration, more or less, just so that, okay, maybe it's not inspiration, or just let you know that you guys are not alone, and that you shouldn't be too hard on yourself, because it's a human flaw, and we all fall into that from time to time. So so let's get right to the crux of the matter. So today, like I said, we're going to be looking at a case scenario for how I fail to practice what I preach. And this is a case study also that we can use to practice how we're going to network in live scenarios that most of us find ourselves in. Now, where was I? I was at the Hilton Hotel. This was 2 days ago. There was an event there, the NNPC, that's the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, I think. Well, I hope that's the correct title. So the NNPC. So the event was for the award of some contracts. Some people had been awarded marginal field contracts. Well, actually, I call them marginal fields because back when I was in uni and I was studying law, that's what we used to call them back then, marginal fields. And now they're called something else. I guess just to signify that it's a different legal regime. So, for those of you who went to school at the time that I did, and you know a little bit about oil and gas law, so just know that marginal oil fields, that's not the legal regime that governs these sort of things anymore. But anyway, the idea behind it is quite simple: that you have small oil fields in the country, either offshore or onshore, and for the international companies, these oil fields are too small to make any sense to them because they have too much scale. So for international oil companies, they're looking for huge wells that you tap in and you get billions of barrels of oil, and that's the kind of thing that they're looking for. So small oil fields don't make sense. And so the Nigerian government, decades ago, started awarding those small oil fields to indigenous companies. So let's say folks like me and maybe you were able to get together, raise a couple of million, and we think that we can go and prospect for oil, and we think it's a good business model. We're able to raise financing. Then the Nigerian government would give you a license so that you could go ahead and run it, even though you're not Total and you're not Shell and you're none of the big corporations. So basically, that's what we're doing at NNPC. The event was to celebrate those people who had been awarded the contracts. Now, why was I there? Especially since you guys know that I am not in the oil and gas space, except for the fact that that is what I studied back when I was in school. So I was there because we were providing light and stage management. We're also providing photography services and video coverage. So that's what we were doing at the event. When I do become an oil magnate and an oil and gas big boy, I will let you guys know and we'll talk about that on the podcast. But for then, or rather for now, I'm not there yet. And then, so who was the person that I ran into this field networking session? It was a contact from Sigma Pensions. And Sigma Pensions is one of those pension providers in Nigeria that we have provided end-of-year multimedia coverage for. In the past, we've done their end-of-year parties and let's see what else. Some health campaigns that they have done, and then publicity campaigns that they've done around Abuja. So that's the sort of coverage that we have provided for them: photography, video, photo booth. What else? Light, I think light, but we haven't done sound for Sigma Pensions. Before. So, gosh, where was I? I've lost my train of thought. Okay, yeah. So the person that this could have been a networking session with. So yeah. So she happens to work with that organization, and that's how I know her. That's why we're familiar. Not like we're on a first name basis or anything, but we're familiar. We say hi from time to time. So how did we meet? It was from a relationship that I got through a British Council contact, and that British Council contact I was initially hooked up with from a wedding client. Well, okay, she wasn't a wedding client because we were talking about her for wedding photography services, but then it didn't click, and then she turned to be an inroad into the British Council. So from the British Council to Sigma Pensions, and basically that's how I got into the corporate space, from the corporate and the NGO space, from doing weddings. And a side note, just in case there's still a professional here who's listening to wedding professional there who's listening to this and who's not quite convinced. This is the kind of thing that I talk about when I say you can get future income and profitable business relationships from brides, even if they are not all business related. That's because there's some people who insist that weddings are a one and done. So once you collect your money for wedding planning, or once you collect your money for wedding photography or wedding videography, just collect the money and then say bye-bye and then start looking for the next person. No, you can get much more profitable relationships from there. You can get future wedding work, and you can get other kinds of work as well, as long as you choose to remain flexible to doing other things apart from weddings. So if you think of yourself as an event professional, then by all means hang on to their contact details. But if you say you want to do exclusively weddings, then maybe you let go of that. Sorry, I got distracted. There's some activity going on the queue outside. I'm trying to figure out. Oh, okay, looks like we are moving. So this is one of those instances where I have to Okay, I'm not going to hit pause on the recording. I'll just stay here on the phone while we slide forward. Looks like some people are trying to cut in on the queue. Sometimes I think fuel queues will move a lot faster if people just stayed in their lane. If we all just joined the queue, eventually we'd buy and we'd be on about our business instead of folks trying to be smart and then cut corners. But I guess that is just stuff that we have to deal with living in this part of the world where trying to enforce. Anyway, don't mind me just ratting on about Nigeria. Okay, I think we've come to a good stop, and so we can resume our recording. And that is, if I can remember what it is that I was talking about. Gosh. Okay, yeah. So, bottom line is, we can get future business from the brides and grooms that we do business with. I think I just gave a sketch about how I'm at an NNPC event, and we're talking to someone who works with Sigma Pensions, but in a roundabout way. The reason why I got to know her and to work with her organization is because of a failed business interaction with the bride. So we're talking to a bride about weddings, and that didn't happen, but then I got the hookup for corporate work eventually. So now, what did I do when I saw this lady at the NNPC event? I'm sure you know the answer, since I said that this is a field networking event. It's because I did absolutely nothing. Because at the time, my mind was focused on making sure that the whole crew was on point. I wanted to be sure that the lighting the lighting in the photo area was on point, because we had a wireless trigger that was malfunctioning. And so it was just basic pre-event jitters, just making sure that everything is going on fine. And eventually, she was gone. And, it's a large crowd, dozens of tables, hundreds of people, a few hundred folks. And, anyway, I didn't see her again for the rest of the day. And then after the event, I realized something. So I realized that this was a field opportunity for further networking, and then also for multi-threading within an account. Now, I know for most of you listening to this podcast, multi-threading, that word, this is possibly the first time that you've heard it, so I'll try and give a sense of what multi-threading means. Now, multi-threading in the corporate space is this idea of having multiple people, different stakeholders, different individuals, different phone numbers, different email addresses, however you want to look at it. But the idea is that you have different people that you talk to within any unit that gives you business. So in other words, if you're doing business with Sigma Pensions, or you're doing business with NNPC, or you're doing business with, let's say you're trying to get a wedding from the Okudingbe family, the idea is that you shouldn't be talking to just one person. So have multiple contacts in NNPC, not just one person, because people get transferred, people get sacked, people leave, or for some reason people are not available to respond to your calls. So if you have multiple contacts within an organization, if you're a politician, you don't just have one person's number within the APC, assuming that you're trying to slide into the APC or the PDP. So you need multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, multiple contacts, multiple houses that you can go to, multiple people that you can go see. So basically, you're not just working one person when you're trying to push your agenda through. And so that is the idea behind multi-threading. So like I said, in the wedding space, this is going to mean don't just be talking to the bride. You're talking to the bride, it'd be nice to have the groom's phone number. If they drop names and the wedding planner is somebody you might as well hit the wedding planner and to say, hey, what's up? That bride, Nike? We're talking to her too. And you get a conversation going there. If the Momsy and Popsy were at the wedding event, at the bridal fair, for instance, assuming you met them at the bridal fair, you might also try to establish a relationship with mommy and daddy as well. And the whole idea behind multi-threading is that it makes it easier to get the business. So that's how multi-threading would work in a wedding context. So you're talking to the bride, to the groom, to the wedding planner, to the mom, to the dad, to the auntie, whoever it is that hooked you up with the business. So that's the whole idea. Now, what is multi-threading in this context, or what would multi-threading be in a business context in this particular scenario that I've looked at? So if I had opened up a conversation with this lady from Signa Pensions, and we exchanged phone numbers, because remember I said we've seen a few times before, but it's mostly hi, and we recognize each other's faces. So if we had gotten into conversation and I exchanged contacts, then I would now have someone new to chit chat with within Sigma Pensions. The next time we have an open bid, the next time we have a proposal, or the next time we have an invoice or a quotation or whatever process it is that we're going through for a job that we're trying to get through them. So if I started up that conversation, I would now have another contact within the organization. This would be another opportunity for multi-threading, and that is why opportunities like this are a lost opportunity, not just for me, but for those of you who happen to fail to take advantage of these kinds of situations. Now, what could I have done? It's very simple. Like I said at the beginning of today's show, it's about the questions that you ask. It's not about the things that you say. So if I walked up to her, and the whole idea was I was trying to show her that since the last time we've done business, we've grown. We've now added stage to our repertoire. We've now added sound to our repertoire. We've now added pyrotechnics. We've now added this. We've now added that. That would be a very boring conversation. I mean, from her own point of view, because she has come to this NNPC function and to chill, to have fun, to be educated, to meet up with colleagues that she hasn't seen in a while, lots of different stuff. She's not there to listen to a sales pitch. So rolling up to her and then start giving a sales pitch about why I'm the best and the greatest, and that me and my crew are the best in Abuja and all of that, that's the wrong way to go about it. So simple and a conversational-led approach. So anything like, hi, nice to see you again. What brings you to this event? Are you an awardee? I didn't know you have business interest in the oil and gas space. Does Sigma Pension now finance investments in oil? How come you're the one here and not Oga XYZ from finance? That question about the Oga XYZ from finance is actually something I can ask, because I know the fellow who is in charge of finance, because I happened to do the family portraits for them last year around Christmas, and I've tried to maintain a relationship with him. So I hope you guys are beginning to see how multi-threading works. So I know somebody from procurement, I know somebody from finance. If I can get an extra phone number, it would help as well. And I also know someone from the what is that one called? Public relations, from the public relations office. So anyway, that's how multi-threading works. You need multiple phone numbers within an organization. So that's one question I could have asked. If it turned out that Sigma Pension finances investments in oil, and that's why someone who works in a pension firm is at an NNPC event, so you could have taken the conversation that way. Oh, how is Oga XYZ, by the way? How's he doing? How's the family? Let's see, what else? Okay, I could have asked questions about what she does with Sigma Pensions, what her own job role is. And then there's also that angle of, long time since we last met. Have you guys been, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, I would have gotten to, can I have your phone number? Would it be okay to keep in touch? And then the usual, okay, next time I'm passing through the office, I'll come by to say hello. And that's something that I do anyway, that whenever I know multiple people within an organization, sometimes you have to go in to drop something. Like for some teams of the British Council require that you drop a physical invoice. Not just British Council, but I think UNICEF. Okay, I haven't done work with UNICEF, but there's some NGOs that require that you submit some things in hard copy. So after you deliver, you're going to submit an invoice in hard copy with the PO written on it. That's the purchase order number on it. And then some people also require you to submit a delivery note. And I know some of you who are used to doing only weddings will say, man, this is just a lot of work. I want to get paid. And well, yes, just know that I think it's worth the hassle, because the thing with corporate gigs is corporate gigs don't pay as well as wedding gigs. So like from a wedding photographer point of view, for instance, you might do one wedding and then collect a ticket of maybe 400 or 500K or something, spend 100 or 200 grand on deliverables, and then keep 300 in your pocket. So the idea of doing corporate every single time they call you out, maybe it's only 200 grand or 250 or something. Maybe that might not seem appealing, but the good thing about corporate gigs is that they call you back repeatedly. So they might call you in January because they want to do photographs of the board of trustees or something, and then call you back in February because they're doing an unveiling of something, and call you in March because they're doing a project launch somewhere, and let's see what else, call you in December for the end of year party, and What else? Anyway, on and on and on. So that's why investing the effort in corporate accounts. That's the reason why that's why it's a good idea, even if the money is not fantastic, like the wedding money. Where was I before I went off on that rant? Anyway, I was just trying to explore the different ways in which these conversations could have gone, and you can see that all the examples that I came up with, are you an awardee, what brings you to this event, stuff like that, they really have nothing to do with what I'm doing now, my area of expertise and stuff like that. These are simple conversations that allow us to bond on a one-to-one level, build some level of rapport and familiarity, and will make it will open the doors so that future conversations around business and other matters can be introduced. So any of these intros that we have explored so far could have led to a 10-minute conversation, and most importantly could have led to a new relationship, on a deeper relationship with an already existing client. So when you're in this kind of scenarios, remember to keep it question driven and have the other person talking about them. So remember, the intros, the questions that I used, none of them was about me. It was all about, what does she do now with the organization? What's she doing here? Is there any personal interest with NNPC? What else? Stuff like that. So where was I? Okay, yeah, so that's it pretty much. So remember to keep it question driven, have the other person talking. And now that we have run this debrief, I'm sure I'm going to be much more mindful the next time I run into someone at an event that I know. And you should be mindful about these sorts of things too. So you don't always have to be at a formal networking event to be networking. I hope that's the chief lesson that we can learn from here. Because most people, when you show up at an event, you're probably in the mindset of, if you're a sales professional like I am, you're probably thinking about fulfilling on the job, making sure that let's say you're a party planner or a wedding planner, making sure that everything has been properly planned and everything is flowing correctly. But it could also be a networking opportunity, even if you're working. And if you show up for an event because you're the guest and you're just thinking about good food, good music, good company, and a good time, it can also be networking as well. Because after all, in Abuja and in Lagos, going to nightclubs is also considered networking, because they are professionals that I know, not just in the multimedia space, who say that hanging out at clubs is a nice way to pick out clients as well, because you get to know who is who, you get to know who is the talk of town, and conversations around alcohol and stuff like that could lead to interesting business opportunities in the future. So going to nightclubs could also be considered networking. So all you need, if you're trapped, trapped is too strong a word. All you need if you're in this kind of scenario, where you came for one thing and networking is not really at the back of your mind, but the situation kind of presents itself, all you need is the right mindset, and all you need is a few questions for both of you to start riffing on. And if you start doing that, things will be okay. So let's wrap up this session right now, because we've gone well past the 20-minute mark. So thank you very much for listening to today's recording. I will catch you guys at the next one.